I'm Mye Hoang. I'm the director of the documentary Cat Daddies.
Welcome to Factual America. We're brought to you by Alamo Pictures, an Austin and London-based production company making documentaries about America for international audiences. I'm your host, Matthew Sherwood. Each week I watch a hit documentary and then talk with the filmmakers and their subjects. This week it is my pleasure to welcome Mye Hoang, the award-winning director and producer of Cat Daddies. The film is a heartwarming and tender portrait of a diverse group of men whose lives have been forever changed by their love of cats. Cat Daddies takes us on an inspiring journey all across the U.S. during the challenging early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, when people desperately needed hope and companionship. Join us as we talk with Mye about men and their cats and her film, which has made a splash on the festival circuit. Mye Hoang, welcome to Factual America. How are things with you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm in LA today, and I believe you're in the UK.
I am in the UK, where I think your film's going to be releasing in a few weeks on a
hmm
theatrical release. We're talking, if people weren't paying attention to the intro, we're talking about the film Cat Daddies. It's done the festival circuit, a winner of multiple awards. We can talk more about that in a few minutes. It's already had its theatrical release, I believe, in the US and some other English-speaking countries, being released in South Korea. And I believe it's releasing in the UK on December 12th. Is that correct?
I think there are some various dates we're doing. It's a
Hmm.
slightly experimental kind of release, and so it's a lot of special events
Okay.
all across the country, well, all across the world, really, in many continents. And so, and we're still running it here in America.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going up to the Bay Area this weekend for it.
Excellent. And that's, I guess, I found the dates on your website. So what's your website's name again?
CatDaddiesMovie.com.
Okay. So check
Yeah.
that out.
So
If anyone who wants to find out if it's being shown near them, I'd say first port of call is catdaddiesmovie.com.
And we're
Because there's
always adding cities and dates, so it's gonna be rolling out there for the next couple of months.
Okay. Well, let me just congratulate you because it's done quite well. Did you expect such a reaction to this film?
Well, I certainly hoped for a good reaction, but yeah,
Yeah.
I had no idea. And because of the pandemic, while I was, editing and even after I finished, it was really
Mm.
hard to know how it was
Yeah.
going to be received, if it was even working, because at that point you only know from a few people you send the link
Mm.
from to colleagues, but you really don't get that general audience. And being able to see it in a theater, and I think this is a audience film, very specifically so.
Mm.
Um, and so not having that for a year or so in the process of making
Yeah.
it, you're not being able to test screen it with 30 people like we usually would while
Yeah.
we're editing. Yeah, it was difficult. So I really didn't know what to expect. I knew that I did the best job that I could given what we were handed
Yeah. Yeah.
going
Yeah.
into a pandemic in the middle of the shooting schedule. So, so yeah, I feel really lucky that it is connecting with people, and
Yeah.
I've met so many people who are coming back multiple times to see it in the theater
Wow.
and
Wow.
bringing their mom, bringing a different friend,
Did they
and it's
bring their
been great.
cats?
No, but some of the cats that are in the movie have been able to come and sit in
I
on the
see.
screening
Oh,
and
wow.
do Q&A with us. So that's been fun. Actually, more dogs have been seeing it in the theater. I've met a few people who have service dogs,
Right.
and so
Right.
they bring their dog to see
Yeah.
it, and that's been pretty fun. Yeah.
Well, maybe why don't we get maybe you can tell our audience what is Cat Daddies all about if the title's not obvious. I mean, maybe you can give us a bit of a synopsis of the film because I imagine most of our listeners haven't had the joy of seeing this film yet.
Yeah, so it's basically a love letter to cat guys out there. It's combining two things I love, which is men and cats, and the bonds and relationships that they have with each other, which for some reason give me so much spark joy when I see images and videos on social media of men holding their little kitty.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, I just wanted to make a movie about it. I'm a cat lover. I'm also, I've been a filmmaker mostly in the narrative world. So this is
Right.
actually my first documentary.
Yeah.
And it was basically, I just wanted to make something that I would like to watch. And I'm a cinephile. And so I did make this intentionally for the big screen.
Mm.
I like cat videos as much as anyone else on in the internet, but there's just something about being with an audience, watching cats being larger than life, and all the cuteness that they bring. But
Mm.
also, it also became. I mean, it was kind of an exploration of modern masculinity, right? I don't know what it's like where you are, but I know in America there's a lot of stigma um, against men with cats, like it's somehow not seen as manly. And there's that whole adage of like man's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think dogs being seen as like a protector and obedient, that
Mm.
somehow they're just psychologically less appealing to men than cats. But what I find with the subjects of my film and just other cat guys I know in general, I think they've been conditioned for so long that they just don't know that this could be their, the thing that they're into, and the benefits of having a cat. I
Mm.
just think that people just don't realize it. There's so
Mm.
much wrong information and misconceptions about cats in the media.
Mm.
And so this is what I wanted to make. And it's also inspired by my own story with my husband, who, when we were first dating, he was not a cat guy at all. And then one day a cat found him. And it only took a few days and he was hooked.
Right.
And the rest is history. And it just goes to show that, like, you think you know who you are,
Mm.
and sometimes life surprises you.
I guess your husband could have been one of the subjects of the film if you'd wanted
Oh,
to.
yeah, a lot of people ask me about that, but um the problem was is that my cats would have been too spooked by having a crew. So that was definitely not going to
Yeah.
happen.
So basically, I mean, just so because I've had the joy of seeing the film, you basically, not just basically, you follow the lives of 9 men over what, roughly a year or so, maybe even a little longer than that, and you document how cats have changed their lives. Is that I mean, you've already talked about sort of the other themes you're exploring, but that's essentially what we're
Yeah,
we're looking
yeah.
at.
Major changes. I mean, either the
Yes.
cat
Yeah.
becomes an Instagram celebrity, or
Right.
the cat, like in the becomes occupational therapy often for a lot of these men, especially the ones that are frontline workers, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
firefighters, a professional
Police.
truck driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like they tell me about how having something constant and something there for them is so helpful mentally in an environment and career where things are chaotic and unpredictable.
Mm. Mm.
So, and then I think also with a lot of these men, the cats launched a creative side in them too
Mm.
that they would have never discovered otherwise. So the truck driver kind of went into photography and cat fashion,
Right. Right.
and the software engineer is always building things and trying to, build things for the cats and design things. Yeah, they just like it's been really interesting.
And it's that combined with social media. Like for instance, that truck driver. I wasn't sure where that storyline was going, but then finding out that people go. I guess he just has posted his cat on social media. Now he does meetups. Right, people travel hundreds of miles just to meet
Yeah,
him and his
and
cat.
they just got back into it. So they've actually been RVing during this theatrical release around America. So they drove from Florida to New York, then to Dallas, and then
Yeah,
now they're in San Francisco.
yeah.
I mean, they're just like going all over and meeting fans during our movie release. It's been great.
So, I mean, I guess you knew this going in, but people are definitely very passionate about their cats, aren't they?
Oh, very. People are always sharing their pictures at the screenings, and yeah, it's just lovely.
So, so for those who might be who maybe aren't consider themselves cat people, what is it about cats that makes people so passionate about them? You think?
What is it about cats? I think they're just really endlessly fascinating and entertaining. Like,
Mm,
I feel like not every day is the same with them. Like, my cat's always doing something that they shouldn't, or
right.
I don't know, they're just always doing, I'm always discovering things about them.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe not on a daily basis, but definitely over the years, quirks about their personality and there's just like, yeah, I think it's just, I mean, I don't want to say dogs are repetitive and I mean, I've had dogs and I've had cats and I don't know, cats are just more mysterious and they just,
Mm,
they just because they're hunters too. I mean, they're just always doing crazy things, silly
yeah.
things.
Yeah. And so, I mean, when people finally get to see this film, what is going to surprise them? You think? What are you seeing with? Because now that you're screening it, you've been at festivals. What is the audience reaction? What are they surprised most
I
by? You
think they're
think?
going to be surprised that it's a little bit of emotional roller coaster. It is very cute, but
Mm,
a lot of people have told me they've been surprised by the emotions and that they're feeling things, from the
mm,
film and they weren't expecting that. And I think there's not a lot of cat content out there that goes that deep because
mm.
it's not even a movie about cats.
Right.
It
Right.
really, on the surface, I think it is about men and cats, but then it really becomes about men and what kind of men do we want in this world.
Mm,
And especially after what we've been through these past few years, and I was sitting down editing this through 2020, and difficult year for everyone, but also
mm,
just a crazy year just in terms of toxic masculinity and the election that we're going through and just kind of
mm,
everything, right? And I just love spending time with these men, and I think most of the audience feels the same way. They're I mean, each man is just interesting in his own way.
mm,
Um, you know, they're just a joy to spend time with. And I'd rather spend time with men like this,
mm.
both in real life
Yeah.
and at the movies, than, guys who are going to be, fighting
Yeah.
and using violence, right, to solve problems.
Mm,
These are men who are using kindness,
mm.
kindness and compassion to solve problems.
Well, they're very as what's the expression? They're very comfortable in themselves. These men that you have.
Yes, they
Yes.
unabashedly love their cats, and I think that's what's so appealing to me. I grew up with very stern men in my life, including my father, didn't really put his emotions or vulnerability out there.
Mm,
And so I think we need that sort of to change, and I think it's going to be better for everyone, mental health wise. Like I don't think men should feel like they have to be boxed in and be a certain way to prove a certain
mm,
thing for, our society, especially here in America.
mm. All right. Well, I think takes us to a good point for an early break for our audience. We'll be right back with Mye Hoang, the producer and director of Cat Daddies. It's out on theatrical release. Check out the website, and it's releasing in the UK shortly. You're listening to Factual America. Subscribe to our mailing list or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Alamo Pictures to keep up to date with new releases or upcoming shows. Check out the show notes to learn more about the program, our guests, and the team behind the production. Now back to Factual America. Welcome back to Factual America. I'm here with Mye Hoang, the producer and director of Cat Daddies, out on theatrical release in the US and many other countries, and it's releasing in the UK shortly. So, Maya, I mean, you did mention this a bit, but how did this? I mean, it's one thing to say I want to do a project about men and masculinity and cats, but how did this project come about? I mean, because it's quite an ambitious project.
It is, and the idea came to me at a time where I didn't want to do any more filmmaking, quite honestly.
Okay.
I'm married to a filmmaker.
All right. Okay.
So with two of us in the same house, it's a little difficult.
Yeah.
Um, I was going to maybe just continue producing,
Right.
but not directing. But then this idea just kept nagging me, and when I talked to people about it, even non-cat people, they really sparked to the idea of it.
Hmm.
Um, and it did seem to be a big trend or movement on social media. There's just more and more men just coming out, unabashedly loving their cats and being proud of it. And I just thought like maybe I could do this. And I'm going into it, I really didn't know what I was going to find. I didn't really have it like even documentaries, they're often scripted out
Yeah.
or outlined in some way.
Mm.
And then, as you know, with documentaries, especially the longer that they're being, shot,
Yeah.
the kind of story can kind of change
Mm-hmm.
and become something different. And I was gonna give this, I really only budgeted, we're gonna do this in a year. I'm just gonna like this is really like getting my feet wet and having fun.
Right.
This was not actually supposed to be too challenging.
Yeah.
And then and then we all know what happened in 2020, and then it become this huge challenge. I didn't even
Yeah.
know if we would finish
Yeah.
filming at all. But yeah, it's a very, very scrappy independent thing. It was just sort of let me see if I can do this
Hmm.
and get a whole bunch of my friends to help me,
No.
make this, either contributing on the crew or
Mm.
contributing through crowdfunding, things like that.
Right.
And so
Right.
so this is a very, very tiny scale movie. And so that was kind of the beginnings. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
we just, yeah, again, I'm a documentary junkie. Like I think this actually works better for me as a person and as a
Hmm.
creative. I actually think I enjoy spending time with real subjects rather than actors and producers
Hmm.
and people that bring a lot of ego to the table. I really just enjoy getting to know real down to earth people.
Hmm.
And so I think I'm gonna keep going with this. If I continue filmmaking, I'll keep going
Hmm.
with the documentary. And
Yeah.
I've been kind of at it for 20 years, so it's taken a long time to
Yeah.
actually figure out what's for me.
Yeah. Well, some of us never figure it out. So well done. I mean, I think the
That's
thing.
true. That's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, the thing that strikes me is that you say it's a scrappy, independent, small scale project. It certainly doesn't come across that way. So in terms of the way it's filmed, I mean, it's not just. I mean, I was going to ask you, but you'd already kind of mentioned it earlier. I mean, did you sometimes wake up and think, I can't believe I'm making a cat video? But you're not making a cat video, right? You're making this sweeping film, and you've got 9 subjects. I mean, a lot of people would have been difficult enough to do 2, 3 different subjects, but you've got 9. I mean, you're having to crisscross the United States, tracking the stories of these people. How
Yeah,
did you
it was
manage that?
ambitious. Looking back now, when I first started all this, I was writing grants, writing for, trying to get some
Yeah.
grant money, which I didn't get. But I'm now looking back, I'm like, they probably looked at my grant application as like, you're doing 9 subjects? Like this is not possible. They probably threw my
Right.
application in the trash, right? Like this is
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and so it was just really important to me to get a diverse mix of men and cats, right? I
Mm,
mean, as cat lovers, we want to see different cats.
mm,
We don't, just want to follow a few.
right.
So it was important to me to get, a good mix. And so that's kind of what led to that ambition of like that number of characters, and that's why it was so important to make sure all the characters felt different,
Mm,
because you do want the audience to be able to keep it all in their head, right? They're being
mm,
introduced to like a new guy every 6 to 7 minutes. um so having them be in different parts of the country, environments, having their cats look different,
mm,
all of that was all intentional. And it
yeah.
was also intentional, like you say the word sweeping, and actually that word hasn't come up, but that actually is probably the best way to describe it. I mean, we really did want it to be cinematic, so
Yeah.
we really tried hard to do that, because I said I come from a narrative background, and so in most of the crew I was working with, the background was narrative, not documentary.
Mm,
And so we did want to make sure that it looked good, and that we, shot in scope, which is really
yeah.
unnecessary to go so
Yeah.
widescreen, right?
Right.
For
Right.
cats. But that's what we did,
Yeah.
and I'm just so happy that it turned out that way. But it definitely looks like it costs more than it did, and that was intentional too. And my background is micro budget filmmaking.
Okay.
My husband and I have done a lot of indie, very low budget films.
Mm.
So I guess we just know how to do it.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, first, I was going to ask you a question about that, but we should give a shout out to your DP, right? Because I mean, I think it was.
Yeah, Robert Bennett.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fresh new face too. I believe this might have been the first feature he shot.
Is that right?
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
had worked with him on some other feature films where he was the gaffer, the lighting guy,
Mm-hmm.
and we were so impressed with his work. We were like, "Hey, you want to work on this feature about cats? And
Mm.
there's not going to be very much lighting. Can you deal with that?"
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's kind of like the opposite of like kind of what he was doing, but he's just so good at what he does, and he really wanted to do more cinematography work. So this
Mm.
was a good opportunity for him, and he loves animals, so he's kind of like the perfect
Mm.
person for it. And as you can imagine, it's hard to film with cats. They don't take direction well.
At all.
And so at all. So you're basically just
Yeah.
waiting for them to do something.
Mm. Mm.
And so it takes a very patient crew
Yeah.
to just sort of wait on the cats to
Okay.
kind of feel like doing something for us.
But what is great is it doesn't. At the same time, it doesn't feel like a nature doc, or it doesn't feel like Discovery. I mean, nothing against Discovery, but it doesn't have that feel of some that might just really focus on the cats. I mean, it's just, as you've said, it's very artistic, and it's very well
Oh,
done.
thanks. Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of a collective portrait, I think.
yeah.
And it's not there's not much, it's not like trying to educate anyone. It's really just a nice, easy breezy
Mm.
film, I think.
And you said you've got a background, you and your husband, in micro budget films. And I mean, do you think that makes you more resourceful? It makes you, you don't have the advantages of unlimited funds and when you're making a film, so you have to just make the best of what you've got. Do you think that helps you actually?
Yeah, there's a film critic I regard very highly named Jennifer Marin out here in the US,
Mm.
who said something along the lines of like that when it comes to art, money ruins everything.
Mm.
That's not her exact words, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to believe that. And she just think, her argument is that the best work is going to come from not having the resources and not having the money,
Mm.
because it forces you to be more creative. It forces you to work harder. It forces you to really consider your audience, and to collaborate with people. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I think that once, her argument was that you see a lot of filmmakers, they do something great independently, and then once they're handed a big
Right.
budget, it's
Right.
just the work turns to mush or something,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, that's a
I do. Yeah, I do think not having a big budget really forced us to really examine like, well, what is most important in the storytelling here.
Hmm. And then at the same time, you've this is, as you've already mentioned, it was all done. You got started before COVID hit, right? But just a few months before, I gather.
Yeah, we started fall of 2019. We were
Yeah,
scheduled to finish April 2020.
right.
So we actually had some travel. We were actually supposed to film in Europe and
Hmm.
towards the end of March. And so of course that all got canceled and I lost some cast that year, just a little bit.
Right.
But it's okay because like some of the characters, especially the homeless man in New York,
Hmm.
he became a bigger part of the
Hmm.
film. And so we ended up spending more time with him and we didn't do anything overseas.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll save that for a sequel or something. But yeah, it just focused more on America and,
Yeah.
you know,
And
what we're
and
going through.
I mean, how did I mean? I know. I think it's some of the subjects you probably found via social media or news stories or whatever. But the homeless guy David. How did you find him?
So he was the only one not on social media at the
Yeah.
time. He was a tip from a woman, cat lady friend that
Yeah.
had been trying to help him for a couple years, trying to get him off the street.
Right.
Um, and she reached out. She somehow heard my project about it on the internet, and I had already started filming. I mean, I had already, shot with three cat dads already,
Mm.
and had everything kind of little more or less mapped out. And I said, I don't think I have room. And tonally, this is very different from what I set out to do.
Yeah.
And so, but I met him, I think on FaceTime or something. And I also, heard more about his story. And he just melts your heart. I mean,
Mm.
he's just such a character. It's just like we couldn't not include him because he is kind of the epitome of a cat dad because
Yeah.
he was sacrificing shelter in order to stay with his cat,
Yeah.
even if that meant spending the winter on the streets of New York.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he really he really was so different from all the other stories, but we just couldn't not include him. If he was willing to do it, it's
Mm.
like we got to make this work,
Yeah.
or maybe we'll make it into something separate, but
Mm.
we have to do this and try to help him somehow and get his story out there.
And then he becomes one of the main threads of the film, right? I mean, you've got.
Yeah, he is, yeah, because well, no spoilers, but through half of the movie he's separated from his cat.
Right.
And so then it becomes about, you know, are they going to get to reunite? Like,
Mm.
are things gonna turn out okay? And then he also brought in another cat dad that we weren't expecting at all. So he has, as you know, a friendship with a police
Mm.
officer who met him on the job, but then continued their friendship by visiting
Mm.
like every week or so. And these two guys just get together on a park bench because they can't meet up anywhere else,
Mm.
and they just talk about their cats and share photos and trade stories,
Mm.
and they both just light up. It's something that they both look forward to. I'm sure that the cop doesn't really have other guy friends to share pictures of his cat with. And so,
I can't imagine that goes over that well at the station. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they have a really special friendship. And
Yeah.
and it's also funny because their cats look almost identical.
That's right. That's
So
right.
I think that's also what um, really kept them together. But yeah, I mean, the two of them definitely become the heart of the movie, which is called Cat Daddies plural.
Mm.
And those two guys, it just makes me so happy, and it's so inspiring to see them together and to see that another human being reached out to another human being and, is trying to help or at least trying to make his day better, as he's going through really, really challenging times. And it's all because of their love for cats.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think no, it's a lovely. I mean, it's a very compelling story that you tell of David on the streets of New York. So as you say, it's more than just a film about cats.
And it
That's
was
for
also
sure.
very difficult to film all that during COVID because he's very immunocompromised,
Yeah.
right? So it's difficult for us to figure out, how to do this safely, how to keep him
Well,
safe.
I was going to say because we have had one film on here already that was all filmed during COVID in the hospitals, but you may be one of a handful of people who actually got to film in hospitals during COVID. I mean, I thought not to give too much away, but there is a scene
Yeah,
certainly,
I was
uh,
surprised too. We were very lucky,
yeah,
but they would only let one person come in. And
right,
so Rob had to really suit up, wear
mm,
face mask. He was only allowed an hour. Um, I wasn't even in New York at all. I
mm,
had plans to go, but then they required they suddenly added a 2-week quarantine, and so
right, that's right.
I was actually on the phone with them while they're in the hospital, while that filming was going on.
Mm,
Um, so it was really a do whatever it takes kind of
right,
mission to finish the movie. Because at that time, you also don't know, like, how long is the pandemic going to last? How long
right,
is David
right.
going to be stuck in a hospital? Um, yeah, so it was a very challenging, strange time. I
Wow.
hope I don't have to make a movie during that again.
Well, I hope no one does, but yeah, certainly. And you did it your own editing, is that right? In terms of
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, my husband, who's a fabulous editor, was the main editor.
okay,
Um, and then I was also, it was mainly like me building, trying to build the scenes, trying to build the
mm,
characters, and then he would come in and work his magic.
mm,
He's just much more experienced than I,
mm.
and then so we worked on that together, and we were at home during the pandemic, working on this movie,
What
trying to
else were
finish
you gonna
the
do?
movie. Yeah, I was like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah. Well, well done. I mean, and then you've gotten it out to festivals and the circuit, and it's done quite well. You've won Audience Choice Awards and the like. So that must be extremely rewarding to have gone through all that and then to have that reaction.
Yes, I was really holding on to the movie too for in-person,
Right.
premieres. So, and luckily that happened, and I was able to actually travel to about 25 different cities so far,
Mm,
um, and meeting with audiences and, sharing the experience with
mm,
them. So I've been very lucky because
yeah.
I know a lot of filmmakers couldn't do that,
Mm,
or their screenings were canceled or they went virtual. So, but it
yeah.
is such a different experience, yeah, with an
Yeah.
audience. That was really important to me.
But after you're done with these, well, you're still carrying on with the screenings, and I agree, it's something you should be seen on a big screen. But I imagine someone's going to pick this up, isn't? Aren't they? In terms of
Yeah, I
broadcasters,
do.
or
Yeah, I mean, I have distribution for digital in America
mm,
and, well, North America. And I do have other distributors here and there that are
mm,
picking it up for their countries or
yeah,
territories. So slowly it's getting out there, it's not just like it's not just
yeah,
one company coming in and taking all our rights. It's gonna be
right,
piecemealed out, and so over time it'll get out there. I think we're looking in a North America digital release in the early new year.
okay, okay,
In the meantime, yeah, I've been trying to roll it out in person, working with a lot of cat rescues,
right,
doing
right,
events together and having them come out to the theatrical run, and also fundraising for them,
mm,
and just collaborating with groups and people. And it's really just for fun. I mean,
Mm.
part of the reason why we made this was because it's such a fun subject matter, and
Mm.
so I really want to put fun back into the events.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I know it's a given that this will be online everywhere at some point.
Right. Right.
But it's like, until then, I want to make these special events, like in our New York and LA opening, we were passing out light up cat ears for people to wear.
Yeah.
And they just loved that. It was just so fun. And then people were leaving the theater walking
Yeah.
around with these light up cat ears, and yeah, we're just trying to have fun with it.
I think that's great. I think sometimes we get away from that, don't we? About it is about having fun. It should be an enjoyable experience. I mean, you say this is your first documentary, so I mean, but you're hooked now, are you? Is this where you think this is where your career's heading? Is more documentaries?
Yeah, if I continue with this, it will probably be in the documentary world. Like I said,
Mm.
like, I think I watch more documentaries than
The
narrative films
narrative,
now.
yeah,
At least I
yeah,
do on streaming. Like,
mm,
I'm also like, I love true crime stuff, like a lot of other people.
yeah,
I love nature docs. I love all kinds of stuff. I love food documentaries. I mean, there's
mm,
just so much. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing if we can get cat documentaries elevated to the way that food documentaries are, right?
mm,
There's like so much content around food
right,
now.
right,
I think that a lot of that came up from, at least in my experience, I feel like it came from when Jiro Dreams of Sushi came out.
mm,
I felt like after that came out, it's like everybody was starting
yeah,
to make documentaries about food. Maybe not that will happen with cats, but I do
mm,
have other ideas of
yeah,
cat related content. And then a lot of it's just like waiting to see what subject matter finds me
mm,
as well.
yeah,
And I'm open to these things, I'm
yeah.
not I'm open to like what the universe brings.
So, do you have anything in particular next lined up, or are you just you're still enjoying Cat Daddies, and you'll come to that point in the next, whenever in the next few years?
Yeah, I'm still enjoying it a lot. I just want to give Cat Daddies the
Mm,
best chance it has, and so getting it out there. And then, yeah, I have some other ideas, and I'm trying to pursue them, but I kind of need bigger connections.
mm,
So, I'm just throwing some things out there,
yeah.
and seeing if I can make connections. Like, I'm really curious about the Ernest Hemingway cats that live on his estate in Florida.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they all have different names based on like classic movie stars, like
Right.
Fred Astaire and and
Gregory Peck or something. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and they're polydactyls, so they have extra toes. I don't know, it's just so interesting to me that they have a staff on his
Hmm.
estate, and I just see something cinematic there. And again, like, I'm into making movies that I want to see, because if I'm going to do this independently,
You might as
it
well
has,
enjoy it. Yeah.
yeah, I have to enjoy it. It has to
Mm,
keep my attention, because this is years out of my
yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is, like, I actually really love depressing movies and depressing documentaries. So, so
I,
doing this cat documentary is kind of a stretch,
yeah.
but
I don't know if you'd get that far with a depressing cat documentary, but maybe you're the one to do it.
oh no, I don't know if that'll happen, but I don't know. Um I've also been contemplating, like, they do have dog documentaries on IMAX now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking, like, wonder if that's the next frontier, is like cats in IMAX or cats in 3D. Uh
Well, I,
Again, I'm waiting for the universe to kind of tell me what to do next.
and from what I can gather, also just being online myself, I think you've got an audience for whatever you do. So I think I think you'll be fine. It's just about, and I'm sure that audience would love for you to have another go at another cat themed doc. That's for sure. So thank you again. And I think we're coming up on the end of our time. So just wanted to thank you again, Mye, for being on the Factual America podcast. It's been a joy talking with you. And just to remind our audience, we've been chatting with Mye Hoang, the producer and director of Cat Daddies, out on theatrical release. Check out the website, catdaddiesmovie.com. And for our listeners here in the UK, it is releasing very soon in the next few weeks, I think sort of November, December time. So, Mye, thank you again. And when you've completed the next cat doc, we'd love to have you on again.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. I also would like to thank those who helped make this podcast possible. A big shout out to Sam and Joe at Inner Sound Audio in York, England. Big thanks to Amy Ord, our podcast manager at Alamo Pictures, who ensures we continue getting great guests onto the show and that everything otherwise runs smoothly. Finally, a big thanks to our listeners. Many of you have been with us for 4 incredible seasons. Please keep sending us feedback and episode ideas, whether it is on YouTube, social media, or directly by email. Please also remember to like us and share us with your friends and family, wherever you happen to listen or watch podcasts. This is Factual America, signing off. You've been listening to Factual America. This podcast is produced by Alamo Pictures, specializing in documentaries, television, and shorts about the USA for international audiences. Head on down to the show notes for more information about today's episode, our guests, and the team behind the podcast. Subscribe to our mailing list or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Alamo Pictures. Be the first to hear about new productions, festivals showing our films, and to connect with our team. Our homepage is alamopictures.co.uk.